Hey guys, I'm walking this time, not driving. So I want to do another one of these little kind of vlog type posts for you guys. So I did a pretty fun tutorial on Thursday of last week, so a few days back. Today's Monday, and it was really fun. We were talking about shooting to a layout and doing advertising stuff. And during the shoot, we were using, of course, not a real product. We had a pair of headphones that we took off the display at Adorama, and the model was pointed out how they were kind of messed up where the cord was, for the shots. I said, she said, "Can I just put them on backwards?" So I said, well, sure, that's fine. I looked at them, and they are actually marked left, right ear, but I was like, well, whatever, it's just for a demo, and we'd rather have a decent looking picture without a weird cord hanging off of it. So we shot that way, and I got home, and some kind viewer wrote me and was like, what would you do if you screwed up and put the headphones on backwards? And it occurred to me that maybe he missed that part where I kind of pointed out that we were doing that. But I thought, well, that is a really good question. What if somehow you weren't paying attention and that did happen to you? So my answer to him is what we're going to talk about now. So he said, would you retouch it, whatever? It kind of depends. I mean, on these headphones, you probably could get away with that because they weren't those like shaped ones where like the right and left are very different. So you probably could just change the letter on it. But of course, there's supposed to be a cord there. So if it was backwards and the cord wasn't in the right spot, then you probably would have to reshoot it, which is normally what I would do in that case. What I said was, and this is it, right? We're basically shooting in a studio with a single model, with a plain background. Thinking about it like that, it becomes like, well, it's not going to be that expensive to reshoot it. And honestly, you want the client to be happy. And if you can reshoot the thing, and even if you have to take it out of your pocket to do it, you should in that case. Now, if it was some one-of-a-kind shot on some crazy location that you couldn't reproduce, then sure, I mean, retouching would be fine. Or if I didn't have the headphones anymore, or a lot of different things. If you couldn't get the model again because it was really expensive, you could, in theory, kind of set it up. This is one thing that I do on commercial shoots that I actually didn't talk about in the demo, and maybe I will next time, is typically I make a drawing of and I take some shots with my camera of the setup. That way, if we have to reproduce it again later, I can. Especially if I use anything special, any kind of gels, any whatever, I want to make notes of everything so I know exactly what it was. So I could have theoretically shot the headphones on somebody else's head just to get that part that needed to be retouched in as well. Because I don't think the idea of, even if you're going to retouch it, you still need the proper, lettering and stuff to do it. So, and it needs to match your lighting. That's really the key, right? I can't take some random shot from, I think these were JVC headphones. I can't take like a random shot of a JVC headphone and take the R off of it and put it on there. It wouldn't look right. So I'd have to reshoot them no matter what. It might just reshoot the actual headphones. I might reshoot them on the model. In this case, I probably would reshoot the whole thing because, again, it was a pretty small production and I probably could do it right away. But more to that, so that answered that question. But what I want to talk about today is actually why I tether. And that's actually the reason why you tether, right? If I'm shooting a commercial project and I'm tethered into the computer and I've got myself there, I've got an assistant usually working as a digital tech, I've got the client looking at it, maybe an art director, possibly a stylist in this case. Hopefully somebody is going to notice that the headphones are on the wrong ear. So that's a huge benefit to tethering. Everybody's looking at the actual photo, they're approving the actual photo, they're zooming in on things to make sure they're sharp. Somebody's gonna notice that it's wrong. So make sure that when you're shooting, that you allow, your stylists, your art directors to look at those photos and also give their input. That's going to help you to deliver a better photo overall and also catch any mistake that might actually happen, because that could happen. In fact, I was once on a catalog shoot where it was actually almost a perfect example where the stylist actually screwed up, unfortunately, and didn't shoot one of the outfits. She just moved on past it, and we were shooting, kept everything in order, and when I delivered at the end of the day, it was, back then I was shooting with the Phase 1 camera, and I just delivered the files at the end of the day on a hard drive. About 3 or 4 days later, I'm going to switch the camera because I want to have coffee. About 3 or 4 days later, the client calls me, and they're like, where's dress number 5678 or whatever? And I'm like, well, it should be there. And I looked through all my files, thinking maybe I just didn't deliver it, and sure enough, no dress 5678. This was a huge production. We had walls built so it looked like it was inside of a house. There was, professional models that were very expensive. There was hairstylists. There was everything else. This was crazy expensive. At the same time, that job paid really, really well. And they were a good client. And ultimately, it's your fault if you're the photographer. You know, I booked the stylist, I shot the pictures, and in fact, I changed my method of handling catalogs after that point to where I now started to have a list at the beginning, and I crossed things off literally with a pencil as I went through them to make sure that every single item was shot. It had never happened to me before. Luckily, like I said, this was a really good client. I worked with them a lot. They did a decent amount of different styles, and so they were fine with the reshoot, just doing it in a more simple way. So it did cost me money. I mean, I still made money off the shoot, thank God, but I rehired the model out of my pocket. I rehired a makeup artist. I did not hire the stylist because she was literally putting one dress on, and I just steamed it myself. You know, I was being cheap, but I was able to do it. And also, the stylist fucked up. So we reshot it in my studio just against a paper background, which is how some of the other dresses were shot. And luckily, they were totally fine with it. The fact that they were super, super happy. They even asked, like, are you gonna send an invoice? And I said, no, you know, this is part of the job. I was supposed to do this, so, you know, if you didn't bring the dress with you, and it was your fault, then that's one thing, but, you know, the dress was there. We didn't shoot it. That's life. Kept the client, shot with them many, many more times, made a lot of money, made that money back. Sucked in that moment to not make that money, but you always want to deliver. Always, because when it comes down to it, it's your fault as a photographer, or it's your credit if you do it, right? So if the model just decides on their own to flip the headphones around, if she hadn't said anything to me and just did it, and I didn't notice, and it wasn't approved, which it was in this case, then it would have been my fault for not catching it. So be on that. Make sure you're looking at your stuff. You have to be, go beyond the actual shot. There's a lot of technical stuff that goes into a commercial shoot. You want to make sure that you're getting all those things right because you need to deliver the client with the shot that they need. So yeah, that's basically it. That's the answer. I mean, I probably would reshoot it in the case of there, but no matter what, I definitely would make it right. That's really the key. You shoot something for somebody, and it's your fault, you screwed up, you know, hey, even if it's come so far as like you recommended a makeup artist and then they hated the makeup. Now, of course, if they don't tell you that they hate the makeup or what's going on, that's a little bit weird too. But anyways, something like that, you got to be responsible. If they show up and the makeup artist does the makeup and they're like, this is terrible, I don't want my headshot done with this makeup, then I might say, okay, don't worry about it, let's schedule another time. I'd still pay the makeup artist because they came and did their job, even if they were terrible, out of my pocket, and I would lose the money, but I want to keep that client, you know. I'm sure there's like crazy clients that you wouldn't do that for, obviously use your judgment, but ultimately as a photographer, you are responsible. You are the main focus, right? You're there, you're the one, no matter who else is on that set, the assistants, the stylists, models, whatever. You're the one responsible for getting the shot, so whatever happens, you make it work. So that's my talk for today. I'm not driving, so I can walk around. I'm in the woods. I'm actually standing outside. I'm doing a shoot at a location today, and we were all set up shooting, and then they decided to do some cleaning in the big space that we were in, and it smells really, really like bleach and stuff, and I couldn't hang out in there, so I decided to get a cup of coffee and come out and do this for you guys. And I'll see you soon.